Thank you guys for tuning in. Okay, all right. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about direct-to-film on the Freejet. It's been, I think, almost 6 months since we talked about almost any Freejet topic, particularly doing DTF. And we have a lot of new faces who are tuning in regularly. So I thought it important to revisit direct-to-film just as a subject in general on the Freejet. Last week we talked about DTG. As always, we're going to start off the show with a couple of wins. I want to hear from you guys, some wins from this last week since last time we saw each other. Let us know what's going on in either your life professionally or personally, whatever, financial wins, whatever you're comfortable sharing with the group here. Let's see, we have Sullivan here, got baby in lap. Let's hear from you. Do you have a win that you'd like to share with us from this last week?
Sure. Hi, it's Valeria Sullivan. I just noticed my full name isn't on there.
Good to see you.
My win for this week is I got my first large order. Finally with this printer. It's been, and I know you know, Bryan, it's been a whirlwind trying to get this thing to work. And I got my first large order, and it's only 100 things, but it's a step up. So
that's great. And I want to hear about large order number 2 and 3 in the coming weeks. My goal, and I think all of our collective goal, is to get to the point where you have more work than you can accomplish on your own. I think can everybody agree that's the logical next step? Yeah. So we'll work on that, and I expect updates. Let's hear from Valerie Williams. We got a couple of Valerie, Valeria. So Valerie, take it away. Let's hear a win from this last week, please.
Well, so my biggest win, so I told you last week about the new order that I got. So I also got an emergency order for someone, was able to help them out. And also have found out from more than one person that my company is popping up when they're looking for direct to garment.
Yeah.
And one told me that I was one of the few that actually came up. So I was excited about that. Also formed a partnership with another young lady that was in the area. She does direct to garment, but not OmniPrint.
Okay.
So she was in a bind. So formed a partnership with her because she has some jobs that she needs to get out and her equipment is down. So I'm excited about that. So she saw my equipment and she was like, oh my God. So
awesome. Love to hear that. Great job. And how's progress on that big order from last week looking?
So they want a specific t-shirt that they want. And so I have reached out trying to get the best price for it. Mm-hmm. It's a Bella canvas that they want. And then also he's working out the details on the graphics because it's a situation where did he pay her for the graphics or does she own it? So I explained to him when he talked to me, he's not sure. And I said, well, if she created it and it's hers, she could come after me for using her graphics. So he's working that out because the company he parted company with was, not really amicable or whatever.
Okay.
So yeah, so he's working that out to make sure, because I told him, I don't want to get in trouble. And depending on how she feel, whatever was going on with the situation, yeah. So that's where we are. He's working on the graphics to get the actual design. He sent me one, but it's black and white, and the colors are blue and gold with the underlay. And I haven't been able to duplicate it to get the underlay going. So that's where I am.
Okay. Yeah, and like what was mentioned in the chat here, respecting other people's intellectual properties is really huge. So props to you for that. Okay, all right. Let's hear one more. Thank you so much for sharing, Valerie. Appreciate that. Let's hear from, is Laura Hoffman there? I saw her just a second ago. Laura, thank you so much for joining us.
To grab some coffee.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing. Would you mind sharing a win that you've had this last week with us?
No, I'm just kind of like trying to learn. I haven't really started anything. I'm a graphic designer, so I do web design, video editing, and I'm thinking to start some kind of e-commerce, maybe selling t-shirts or greeting cards or something. So I'm here just to see if I want to get into this business. The machine that interests me the most is the embroidery. I think it'll be a cool thing to start with, but I don't know.
All right.
That's all.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll count the win as you attending today and, thinking forward with your education and, taking that initiative. I think that's really big. So props to you for that. Thank you for joining us, and we're happy to have you. So everyone in the group here, they're all experts in their own right in a variety of different things. So this is also kind of a good place if you want to have a little bit of side chat to each other. This is a good place to sort of communicate, share ideas, stuff like that. So feel free to do that. If anyone's up to, have a conversation with Laura, want to kind of encourage that further education outside of just what we're going to be talking about today. So we're here for you. Okay. All right, so thank you guys so much for sharing all of that. That's really great. All right, so we're gonna get into the basics of doing direct-to-film on your Freejet. For those of you who are already quite experienced with the Freejet, this might just be a little bit of a refresher. For those of you who are a little bit newer to the Freejet, we're probably gonna talk about a lot of very valuable information. And if you don't have a Freejet, this kind of gives you a good baseline idea of what the process is like to produce a shirt start to finish. So what we're working on today, the graphic that we're using is related to a video that we're going to be putting out late this week, maybe early next week, using leveraging AI for your print-on-demand business. So I know the subject of it is a little poorly timed, considering Valentine's Day. I had an amazing Valentine's Day, so the reason I say that, the graphic we're going to be using is it's okay not to be okay. We're doing some kind of motivational, kind of self-help type stuff on the brand, the sample brand. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up there. Okay, all right, so that's the graphic we're going to be using. As many of you know, we can use PNG, TIFF, JPEG, and PSD files on the Freejet. Keep in mind, particularly with DTF, the color on the screen is going to be much clearer on the film than traditional DTG. So it'll be a closer one-to-one. So you want to make sure that when you're saving your files, you save it in a way that's going to match the color format that you designed it in. I've seen a lot of people struggle with things like they'll take a design and save it as a PNG, but they designed it in CMYK colors. PNGs will save as an RGB, or I might have that backwards, Edgar. Can you confirm? PNGs are RGB, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. I sometimes mix them up. So if you're working with RGB colors, PNG is going to be really good. It'll save in the correct color format and you're all set. Otherwise, if it's a CMYK colors that you're using, probably best is a PSD or a TIFF file so that it'll keep it in that correct color format. We're going to be using just the standard adult platen that everyone gets with their Freejet. And what I've done is dropped a little bit of isopropyl alcohol in the four corners of the platen and just dropped a DTF hot peel sheet right on there. The alcohol gives me a little bit of surface tension and holds the sheet in place, so I don't have to worry about taping it down nice and flat or worry about anything like that. It's going to be nice and simple. For those of you who have the heated vacuum platen, doubly so, you would not have to worry about this. You just put your sheet on and it's taken care of. So next thing we want to talk about is, setting up your machine ink-wise. So it's always important to do a nozzle check before you're printing, but even more so, it's really important to make sure that if we haven't printed in a while, you got to make sure, especially so on DTF, you got to make sure that you're not printing with separated white ink. DTF is going to show that so badly. You can kind of get away with it in some cases. On DTG, it'll just look a little bit bad. DTF will look really bad if it's got that separated white ink. So you want to be really critical of that. If it's been sitting, like I didn't use this printer since this time last week and fired it up. Took me a little bit of priming to get it looking good. So do keep that in mind, that if you have that separated white ink, agitate your ink bottles, swirl it as always, run your circulation, then do a little prime, make sure your white's looking good, and then go ahead and do your head cleans nozzle check. Any questions about that? That's a little bit basic, but I know we have some newer folks in here, so maybe that's new information.
I haven't used my printer in months.
Okay.
So is there anything different I need to do when I start back? I know you were just saying about if you hadn't been used in weeks, you want to do the priming and that. But is there anything different that I need to do if I haven't used it in months?
Well, an important question there, and I'm not going to dig too deep into it. What we can do is I can follow up with you later and kind of go a little more in depth. Okay. But an important question is if you left ink in the lines.
No, I always clean it out.
So it was flushed out. There was water in the lines when you finished it?
Yes, I always flush it.
Okay. All right, so then it's going to be easy. I don't think we need to do a separate call for that. You're just going to empty out the water, put your ink, purge it through the lines, and you should be good to go. So you would just go on our knowledge base website and follow the initial setup procedures like it's a new printer, and you should be good to go.
Okay.
Make sure that nozzle check looks good. That nozzle check is going to be super important. Take a picture for your records or print it on like a DTF sheet, write the date, something like that. That's going to be best practice for you.
Is there someone that I can actually get with to kind of help me through it? Because I'd be a little nervous when I first got started with it. So is there someone that can maybe kind of walk me through it to get my footing back?
Yes, absolutely. So step one is going to be opening up a support ticket. So you email support@omniprintonline.com. Let them know what's going on, that there's water in the lines, that it's been shut down for a long duration, and you're ready to start it up again. And then they'll take it from there with you.
Okay. You said support?
Yes,
or you can go ahead and put my email on there, Bryan, on the chat, and I'll get with you in a little bit.
Oh, okay. So we have Seraphin in the chat here, and he's going to get with you, and he'll be able to help you out.
Okay.
So we're going to put his email in the chat. So if you don't have the chat open, at the bottom center of your screen, you should have a little button to open it up.
Hold on.
Thank you so much for joining us and for speaking up. Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll continue on. So it's super important to make sure that your ink flow and your inks are ready for printing. Actually, we have one more question. Hi, all. I was wondering if anyone has a way to remove ink spot on a printed piece. If not, could the ink maker work on it? Regular screen printer has a spray to remove ink. So here's a cool little tip. And normally I wouldn't go too in-depth off topic like this, but I do have a tip for that. So if you have some isopropyl alcohol and you get a little ink on your shirt, get a fresh swab. So let's see, I'm on this one. So you're gonna get your alcohol and a swab, and all you'll do is get your swab nice and saturated with the alcohol, and while the ink is wet, you should be able to just clean it off with the swab. It might take a couple of tries, so you would squeeze it out with a paper towel, get it saturated again, and do another go at it. But as long as it's not a lot of spilled ink, that should do the trick. What was that, Edgar? Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, so if you guys are doing some sort of printing consistently, I would recommend getting a spot gun remover from your local screen print supply place. They sell the spot cleaning solution, and it's definitely a game changer when you have, even on white apparel like you were talking about, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
You can literally use the gun and it'll just blast the stain right off.
There we go. You heard it here first from Edgar. Nice. So spot remover is what that's called?
Yeah, spot gun remover.
All right. Okay, there you go, Hampton. Let's see. So we have a couple other questions in the chat, and then I'll get back on topic here. Can you scroll up? I think there was one that we missed. Question: when I've printed DTF, the color looks correct, but once heat applied, the image comes out much darker. Valerie, do you mind elaborating a little bit on when it darkens? Is that while you're curing it under the heat press, or when you're pressing it onto the garment and after you peel it?
After it's been pressed on the garment.
Okay.
So once the film is cured, it's the right color. And specifically, this was for breast cancer awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So, the shade of pink, but when it was applied to the garment, it came out more purple than pink.
Okay, what color was the garment?
Black.
You need a thicker white underbase. When we're doing DTF, it's not as thick of a layer of ink that we're used to on DTG. So it is much easier for the color of the shirt to affect the color of the print. So what you can do is either use a large dot size on your white underbase, or maybe increase the resolution. Or if your underbase percent is not at 100 already, you can play with the underbase percentage and leave the resolution alone. Hope that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, great question, great question. Let's see, we have a couple other questions. One from Sullivan. Can you scroll down, please? At what point do we need to flush the lines if you know you'll be away? That's an awesome question. A little bit off topic, but we'll do it quickly. So when you are finished printing, or you're gonna go on a vacation, if you're gonna be away from your machine and there's no one around to run it or use it for more than a month, you want to flush the lines. If you can have someone come in, do a couple of prints, or show them how to do priming and how to do like your daily maintenance, just have them come in at like the 2-week mark and you'll be good. And make sure that they wet cap it when they're finished. Let's see, what else? Any more? I'm still struggling with the pre-treat staining. Any tips? So pre-treat will stain garments when either there's too much. We did a whole episode on pre-treating. Have you already watched that one on our YouTube? That was the one where I was Professor Bryan. I had the glasses and the whiteboard.
Oh, I don't recall it, so I'll go back and look for it.
I would recommend you check out our YouTube video first. If you're still struggling, you have my information. You can just contact me directly.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Okay, so let's see. My computer is really struggling with the direct rip right now. So I'm going to buy myself a little bit of time while this thing figures itself out. So we're using the standard adult platen. We have the sheet on there secured by some isopropyl alcohol. You want to make sure, and I talk about this all the time, but to make sure that all the new people also understand this, overhead lights can fool the sensors for your machine. So when you're doing the height adjustment, either have the lid down or pay real close attention so that when you're doing the height adjustment, you know it's not going to keep raising too high up. So there we go. So that's just a down, front, up until it stops, and then standby, or you can do function rear. I want to hear about some of the successes you guys have had doing DTF on your Freejet. Particularly, I wanted to hear a little bit from Michael and Yvonne today because you guys started with the Freejet. You started with doing DTF on the Freejet, and then eventually you got to a point where the DTF printer made sense and you scaled up to that. So do you mind telling us what that process was like?
So when you guys first came out with the DTF film, we already had a different process for DTF. So we figured we'd try your process, and it was very impressive to us. So then when you came out with the heated platen, that took it to a whole new level. And so a lot of our friends that are in the business and whatnot, we told them that we were producing transfers, that because we have one person that we deal with that does a lot of shows. And so to keep him from having a lot of backstock, we told him about trying the transfers, because he was doing all his stuff with HTV, which is heat transfer vinyl. So when we told him that we could do these transfers, it was a game changer for him. And now he does all these really big shows and he travels to shows. And then when we got the DTF and dryer, then it was all over for a few people we know. So some people unfortunately can't afford the equipment and are just using us and have decided not to get the equipment because we work so well with people.
That's really awesome. You know, I think that says a lot about the way you guys run your business. It's so, and maybe that speaks a little bit about maybe your margins could use a little bit of inflating. if it's profitable enough that they don't even want to consider doing it themselves anymore. That says a lot about how you guys run your business, your customer service, but also that your prices are very fair. So props to you guys for that. And I also wanted to hear a little bit from Mr. Ron. He's leaving. Because Ron has a couple of DTG printers and all he does is DTF. So he is a great person to hear from about what's up with DTF and why are you using your DTG printers to do it?
Hey, can you hear me?
Sure can. Thank you for joining us today.
All right. Yeah, it's been some crazy times around here. We are growing. I mean, it's unbelievable. We were just working a local sprint car driver and their organization. So we just finished quoting their business, and that's going to be significant. Baseball team for this one township. So it's happening. But as far as my machines, you know, I do a lot of DTF. Hold on, I got a bell ringing. Okay, had to shut my dryer off. Yeah. But anyway, I have a lot of I do a lot of DTF business, but I also still do DTG. Because, you know, I have several clients that the graphic that they use demands DTG. It would not serve the purpose to do it in DTF because it's so large. You know, that's one of the things you got to keep in mind, take in consideration when you're doing DTF is how large of a footprint your graphic's going to be and the feel of it. And some of these graphics have shading in them, so that's why I still do both. But you know, and it's been working out really great for us. I love the you know, I want to give big shout out to customers, to tech support. They nailed me today. Yes. My machine was printing. One of my machines was printing yesterday, And in the middle of the print, you know, of course, it was supposed to stop for the ink pad reset, but it did something totally different. And it went brain dead. So Raymond today got me going. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is what a company is all about, that tech support when you need them.
Awesome. Props to Raymond. I'll have to pass that along. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing, Ron. I do see a hand raised by Goldie. Goldie, let's hear from you.
Hello. Hi,
Yes.
everybody. Okay, so I have two questions actually.
Of course.
So I was printing and you see these lines, I don't know if you could see it, but you see
Hang on,
those
let me
like
get closer to
lines.
my screen. I'm going to step away for a second. Okay. Yes.
You see that?
Looks like banding. How's your nozzle check?
Right, so the nozzle check was fine, but what happened was that as it was going through it, it was coming. Now it was I figured it out, and I feel like in order to run these machines, you got to figure it out yourself, but I need to better figure out a little bit better, because what happened was that underneath the print head, around here on the bottom, I found like I was able with my hands to go underneath here. Somehow I moved it to the left side and I went underneath there and I got a glob of white around it. So in the back, when it was printing fine. When it came up towards the white, that's when the banding happened on it.
Okay.
So I figured out, but
ink
how in the
buildup
world
under
are we
the head.
supposed to really clean underneath here? That's my question, my first question.
Yeah, so you did it in the right place, but I think maybe you did it from the wrong side. So the way that I prefer to do this is move the head to the same side that you did, opposite to the capping station. So if this was the DTF printer, you'd move the head over to this side. And from the back of the printer, next to where the roll feeds through, that's, I think, a better access point because you have a lower angle on the head. Compared to like the side panel or from the front.
Right, you could see even like the debris from what I was cleaning. You see that?
Man, yeah, it was pretty built up. So let this be a reminder. We'll make this.
How often are we supposed to clean this?
You said how?
How often?
How often? So I believe that should be weekly, unless
okay.
was
Because nobody ever told us to
from...
clean anything underneath there. There was never training of anything to clean underneath there. And all of a sudden I was getting this banding and I was like, what in the world is going on here?
Yeah. So underside of any kind of ink delivery systems are going to get some pretty fair buildup, especially because it's in such close proximity to where the ink is being delivered to. So yeah, so you want to go ahead and clean that. I would recommend weekly. My tech support team might be socking me in the face right now over the screen, telling me, no, it's supposed to be monthly, but it won't hurt if you do it weekly.
Actually, Brian, can you hear me?
Yep.
If you're doing production or any type of production, especially with a DTF, you want to hit it daily. Because, you know, especially like, you know, the cotton swab or the little swab that you showed right now when you were kind of, yeah, if you like just swab around the exterior of the head, it literally takes 5 seconds. Because when we were
and you have to go from the back. I'll be able to run it from the back, that swab?
Yeah, you ought to be able to reach. Yeah. You might get, you know.
It's literally, it'll take, you know, at most 30 seconds, you know, just to, if you do it daily, you're literally just swabbing a little bit of the excess ink. But if you let it build up even for a week, it'll start to dry up around there. So if you do it daily, 30 seconds, it's going to save you hours.
Okay, that's my, thank you for that. Now my second question on the DTG machine. So since I got the DTF, I feel like it's printing differently than the DTG ink. Is that correct or not correct?
You mean between the Freejet and the DTF printer?
Yes, the ink.
Yeah, it is a different ink formulation and you're using different heads. So naturally it will be a little bit different.
So my question to you is, if I'm not doing DTG anymore and I still want to use this machine, should I switch this machine to the DTF ink? The
Gamut Plus hybrid inks are designed for the print heads that are in those printers. in the i2 and the DTF printer, because those print heads require different viscosity, among other more technical data points than what I'm familiar with.
So you don't switch it.
You shouldn't switch it, no.
Mhm.
I would say
Okay,
use
I
your
just-
Freejet for smaller orders or for
I know, but once I got used to the ink on this other machine, I just feel it's like a different. I really need to sell it, but yes, that's the truth.
all right. Okay.
We don't need
did I
both,
did I
but thank
answer
you.
the
Yes,
second
you
question?
answered. Yes,
Okay,
thank
okay,
you.
All right. Okay. All right. So let's get back to what I was doing here. I'm always happy to go off topic with valuable questions. So I appreciate all of you guys for speaking up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. My direct rip is behaving now. Let me get it going and share screen, share my direct rip. Okay. So like I said earlier, this is a graphic that we generated using AI assistance. So no worries, everything's good. I know it's kind of a sad looking graphic, but it's just what the AI chose. Okay, so what we're gonna do is take this graphic, we're gonna choose our DTF environment. In this case, there is some black in the graphic that I do want to put some white underbase under. So I'm going to do DTF color garment. Where is my full underbase environment is missing. So I'm going to show you how to do it manually. So we're going to do HQ. We've got our image. We'll do 10 by almost 9. Top center. Always remember to mirror the image if you didn't already mirror the image when you were creating it. Select the port, that tells it which printer to print to. Do a little bit of a margin so it's not printing right at the edge of the sheet. And since I don't have that full underbase environment, what I want to do is go to device options, and on my white underbase, I'm going to change printing background to color. So that's going to do a solid white underbase under my whole graphic. So for the ones that I showed you earlier that were already printed, that's how I did those. Everything else is looking good. Add a choke, image, add white underbase choke.
Bryan, can I ask you a question?
Sure thing, go ahead.
Can you go back to that window where you had the underbase, the color was, and then you chose the
device options right here.
Right. So you chose printing background color, and then that's going to put white underneath the entire graphic, correct?
That's correct.
Now, what's the
including
difference
black.
between that and then you go to device options?
Yep, I'm in device options.
I'm sorry, ink assignment.
Oh, ink assignment.
And then where it says white underbase instead of automatic, you change that to a non-transparent region.
Can't say that I've ever adjusted it that way, but it sounds like it'll do the same thing.
Okay, because I can adjust the strength on that white underbase too right there.
Yeah, so it seems like it's going to adjust pretty much the same. So so this is on so okay, this is a good talking point too. So if I had it on the settings it was on, automatic generation type means it's going to do that gradient white underbase, where on darker colors it'll put less white because the image is supposed to be dark in that spot. But if we set it to non-transparent region, then it's going to put the same amount of white under everything, just like what the color printing background is designed to do. And the benefit for that, a common problem with DTF that this is solving is, oh, it looks like my computer didn't like us talking too long about that topic. So the common problem with black on DTF when you're using the traditional settings is that, here we go. Oh, good, it recovered. So graphics where there's a lot of black or you know, a decent amount of black, it'll not put any white underbase, and that area will be much more thin because it's just that layer of black ink and that's it. So after wash, when the garment shrinks a little bit or just the inks move around, that area has a tendency to either tear or it can bubble up. So my preference, whenever I have more than a little bit of black in my graphic, I'll do a solid white underbase for that reason. Okay, so this is looking good. We're ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and hit print and OK. And Hampton's asking, do you have to play with the strength amount when you do DTF? When I do DTG, sometimes I have to reduce the strength to prevent color bleed. So as with any printing, depending on your environment, depending on the steps that you take before you print, that'll determine a lot about how your printer is behaving and whether you need to adjust settings. So to answer your question broadly, yes, but it's a little more nuanced than that. So Hampton, I would say go on our knowledge base and download the troubleshooting guide for DTF. And when you have a problem with DTF, you reference the guide. It has pictures of common problems. You look for the picture that matches most closely to the issue that you're having. And there you go. And it looks like Kenny is having a nice beverage there. You'll have to bring enough for the whole class next time, Kenny. And then Valerie is saying, I just saw that there is a cured ink remover kit for screen printing. Is there an ink remover kit for DTG? I imagine it's the same. Can you confirm that for Valerie, Mr. Edgar?
Yeah, it's actually the same thing. And actually, if you get a spot gun remover, you should be able to find one for like $60 to $80. I know the one I had was like around 100. And a little trick because somebody put on the chat that the solution is around $60. But what I found out, and this was through my production manager at the time, you can use acetone, and they sell it at like Home Depot or Lowe's, and it's like $10 to $15, and then that'll literally do the same trick. You can put it in your spot gun remover, because it's important to have a spot gun remover, because if you dab it, you're literally dabbing the ink inside the fibers, versus a spot gun is gonna blow it out.
There you go.
You can literally take off. You can literally take off black ink from a white T-shirt with doing that.
Yeah, that's amazing, and that's very valuable. Are you going to bring one for our demo room, Edgar?
What was that?
You're going to bring one of those spot removers for our demo room?
We should. It should be somewhere in the back.
Yeah, for sure.
In the bodega.
All right. Okay, let's open it up for some more general questions. So this is printing right now, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the process when it's done. But I want to hear if you guys have any other questions. And if you don't volunteer, I will pick on someone. All right, okay. Free reign. All right, let's hear from, let's hear from Lorenzo. Lorenzo, are you able to speak with us?
Sure.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. Have you taken away any valuable information from today's class? Or is this all just kind of repeat information? You already knew it, you're already all set?
Most of it, yeah. I'm just was listening in. I didn't want to interrupt. I'm still waiting on my ticket to be fixed. I have that Omni DTF.
Okay.
And the black seems to crack every time you wash. If it's solid black or if it's with the black is cracking. So I'm working with, I believe his name is okay, I can't remember his name, but he said he was working on trying to help me out with it, but it's just been a little while. So I figure I just listen and see if anybody else had a problem with their black on the DTF. and hopefully maybe I can figure something out.
Okay. Do you mind dropping your ticket number in the chat so I can follow up after this?
Absolutely.
All right. Let me get some eyeballs on your case here. Okay. So for those of you who have been following along, are we going to switch to close up right here? Do you still need a screen share? Oh, let me take off the screen share. Yeah, I forgot about that. You guys have just been staring at my screen this whole time. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. So here's the finished print. And so what we would do is powder this thoroughly, and you want to make sure that the print is fully powdered. So when you're finished with it, you want to hold it up to the light and really make sure that it's got powder on the whole design. Shake it really thoroughly. You want all that excess powder, because especially when it's a very wet print, you're going to get a lot of powder built up around the perimeter of the print. And you want to shake that off, because if that transfers onto your shirt, it's not super easy every time to take off excess powder. Sometimes you can just do an extra press on the heat press with like a silicone sheet, and that'll take off excess powder if there's little enough of it. But when it's larger groups, sometimes that doesn't work. So the best way to do it is just to not let it happen in the first place. So be really diligent about shaking off excess powder. So once you've done that, you would take it to the heat press. You're going to hover it. So depending on the design, depending on how much ink you have on the sheet, and a variety of factors, you're gonna heat press it, hover it for about 3 minutes or until the powder melts. You can be between 280 and 350 degrees is, I think, best practice. I've heard of people going higher in order to get that powder very melted, but it doesn't have to be melted. I'll show you an example that I did beforehand of the totally finished product, and that one was not melted. It was just cured and then pressed on, and it looks great, and it stuck on really nicely. So here we have after curing, right? I did a couple, and I left this in here. Can we switch to camera number 2? Okay, so I left both of these on for one reason. It's really important to proof your designs before you print them. It's okay to not be okay. I got all the way to printing this before I caught that. So make sure that you're double checking your work before you print. Because that's just a goofy, silly mistake, and it would have really sucked if I didn't catch that and sent that to a customer. Okay, and so once you heat press it on, you're going to use a medium-high pressure between 15 and 40 seconds, depending on the material and depending on your environment, your heat press, all of that. After that time, you're going to go ahead and peel it. So I did this one for 25 seconds at 320 degrees because this is cotton. I'm not worried about damaging the material. It's going to be fine. This is a hot peel sheet, so I peeled it, and it's good to go. I gave it a second press on the same pressure with just a cover sheet on there. So that's the finished product. As you can see, it's bonded quite nicely, even though the powder wasn't melted. So I think that's really important. And I want to make sure Mr. Lorenzo gets attention. I'm a little bit concerned that your black is having cracking and washing problems. I suspect potentially what the reason is what we were talking about before, where the black areas of the graphic don't get white underbase, and so they're thinner and more prone to being manipulated when the shirt is manipulated. So I'm interested to see if tech support concurs, and we'll get you taken care of there. So can you confirm, does the black that you're printing, does that get white underbase?
It get a light white underbase with one of the DTF settings. It get a nice kind of white underbase, but it looks good. It looks perfect until you wash it, and then
Mhm.
there's cracking. And then I asked him about the girls' fitted shirts, because my wife wear fitted shirts.
Yep.
And once you put it on, and it has a little stretch because of the area,
Okay.
it rips. It's like cracks up. I have like we did a bunch of tests. I worked with like 3 different agents so far. And honestly, it's been a long time. It's been months, and I'm still working with it, trying to figure out what's going on.
In the time between now and when I get with the tech agent that's been working with you most recently, do you mind doing a test for me? And this is what my troubleshooting sense is leading me towards, is the black not having enough white underbase. So do you mind doing a print that has a lot of black and print it on the solid white underbase environment?
Okay.
So it would be the, I'm forgetting how the naming conventions go for those, but it's like the DTF color, full underbase, regular resolution. It doesn't have
So
to
you
be
want the
super high.
7020 by 3600 full underbase?
You can do the 2400. Have you been mainly printing 3600?
No, I actually did long tests. I printed out, I think it was 40 something images. And with each one of the things, I pressed them at different temperatures and different pressures and everything. I went through a whole segment of printing, and I use each one of these things. I use on the sheet, it got it listed from like the 2400 regular resolution, the HD, the full 2400, the 3600, the lights. I used all of them, and I did all of the tests with them, but I still
So you already did the full underbase?
Yes, but I'll do it again.
Okay,
I'll
I
do
would
it again, and
appreciate
I'll
if
see
you
you
would
results.
try it again with a graphic that has a lot of black. So it's going to be super obvious if that's giving you an issue still.
Yeah, I do it. I do it mainly with this logo, with this logo here.
Yeah, so that's got a bunch of black in there. That'll be a great test. What are you putting it onto?
I put it on
that you
100%
have
cotton
that
and a
problem?
50-50.
I'm so sorry. I talked over you. Could you go again?
Oh, I said I put it on 100% cotton and 50-50.
Yeah, you should. There shouldn't be having any problems with that. So I'm sure we can narrow it down. Run the test for me. Run it through the. You can just do the one if you want. And run it through the oven until the powder's melted, just so that we can have our bases covered and not even have to look at that. Press it on. I'm gonna say 40 seconds just to keep everything super padded and safe. 40 seconds, medium high pressure to apply it to the shirt.
So would you like it a 7 pressure?
Yeah, 7 pressure is good.
40
peel
seconds.
it, give it that 10-second press, because that's the way I do everything. All of my stuff washes really good. So we just got to figure out the difference between what I do here and what you're doing, and then it should be pretty apparent.
Okay, so you want me to do the 40-second press? You want me to leave the sheet on and then do another 10-second press before I peel it?
40-second press. You'll peel the DTF sheet. And then you'll do another 10-second press. Some people put like a cotton shirt on top, so it gets like that kind of texture from the t-shirt to the print. I usually just use a like a craft sheet, and that works out fine.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I think that's going to be it for our show. So let me see. Ticket number 38456. Okay. Do you have that one? Okay, cool. All right, everybody. Oh, did Edgar have something to add?
Yeah. If anybody wants a color swatch, you can email me epena@omniprintonline.com. I put one in the link, but if you want to get the full set, shoot me an email. And to answer Valerie's question in regard to the different colors, it's good to print color swatches that gives you all the different gradient colors. So then that way you can see, what you have on your monitor compared to how it prints, compared to how it cures. Because if you're dealing with, in my experience, like let's say when I was doing printing for Coca-Cola, they had a specific red that you had to hit. So this way it allowed me to do this specific testing. So let's say if I can which specific that I hit, and that way I can modify the file. This is more, intermediate, testing, but it's always good, even if you're beginning to do this type of, once you get a situation where you need to make adjustments, you'll already be familiar.
Oh, I think we lost Edgar there, but
Hey, Brian,
yes,
I'm
Yvonne.
sorry, just
No
one more
worries. I was about
thing.
to call on you.
So people that haven't been in the business for a really long time, like Edgar and Vic and us, there's a couple things. The spot remover that Edgar was speaking of is amazing. I call it Michael's little magic machine. It takes off ink, it takes off HTV, heat transfer vinyl, it takes off a gamut of things. The other thing is anybody that's doing DTF that is new and they are mailing it out. Right now, if anybody's trying to get a hold of rolls of transfer, you know that the only thing out there available is the cold peel. If you're going to be mailing it out, please make sure that your glue is cooked really well, number one. And number two, let it set as long as you possibly can, because I have found if I let it sit long enough to where it's stone cold and then peel, I don't get that glue residue.
Yeah, that's actually a really great addition, Yvonne, is making sure that when you are shipping it out, that's the situation where 100% the powder has to be melted. Otherwise, by the time it gets to your client, half of the powder is going to have been friction rubbed off of the print, and then it's going to be ruined.
You have no control what temperatures your package is going through. You don't know what, how many times it's been thrown around and whatnot. So I don't want people to think that they can just powder it and heat it up a little bit. No, it's got to be cooked.
That's correct. Great catch there. Okay. All right. Okay. So, again, I want to thank everybody for joining us on today's Creators Live. For those of you who haven't heard the last couple of weeks, this coming week, right, we are having a in-house and online workshop. So it's going to be, what were the dates? 24th to the 26th? 24th to the 26th, we're going to be doing Creators Workshop here in our OmniPrint HQ in Irvine, California. So we're going to drop the link in the chat if you want to register. And what we announced last week, which I think is really amazing, is the money you spend towards the pass, the registration pass, you get back as store credit, because hosting this event is about educating the community, and we don't really want that to be a barrier to you coming. So think of it like if you were going to buy ink anytime in the next week, just sign up for Creators Workshop, get that store credit, and then use the store credit for your inks. That way you get to attend the workshop and you get your product. So wanted to kind of add that right here at the end. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We will see you next week.
Yeah. While people kind of take a look at that link, can you hear me?
Yep.
I wanted to, because Valerie put a message on there that she wished she would have had more information to not have ruined shirts. And anybody that works with me in business in a box or even work software, definitely reach out to me. Valerie has my information. Naughty Valerie, reach out to me, ask me questions, and I'll definitely help out, anybody that has any issues that, works with me. That way, you're not having all these, misprints and all this, issues going on. So definitely, Valerie, don't be scared. Reach out to me.
Great to add. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next week. Make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms, and you'll get, updates on our cool stuff, and look forward to that video that we're going to drop with AI. See ya.